Advent Unpacked, we have been trying to understand the season of Advent and spent the last 2 days walking through the Old Testament, looking at all the ways that we're being prepared for the arrival of Jesus and to understand who Jesus is. Today, I want to talk specifically about what this arrival actually constituted. I want to think about the Incarnation, which is the English word for this Latin that incorporates or is based on this Latin term carnos, flesh, meat. A carnivore is a meat eater. So what we have here is this claim, this crazy, bold, unthinkable, scandalous claim that God takes on flesh. That God, the Son, while remaining fully God, somehow also becomes fully human. He adds humanity to deity. It's not that he's half God and half man. It's not that he's God one moment and man the next. It's not that he's God in a man's body. It's not. I mean, there's all these different. There's a number of different ways that the early church tried to understand this, all of which end up being declared sort of wrong and heretical. This all gets spelled out in what we call the Chalcedonian definition, which is what is sort of emerges out of the third big church council, and it gets added onto the Nicene Creed. And what they do there in the Chalcedonian definition is not try and explain what we call the hypostatic union, the union between two different the two different stasis, the two different aspects of Jesus, that he's one person with two natures. So the Trinity is one God, three persons, and then this is the union, the person of Jesus is one person with two natures, one fully God and one fully human. And they coexist, and we say what is not meant, but we don't actually say how this works because we just simply cannot grasp the full nature of Jesus. So let me just note a couple things here today. The first is that the Incarnation changes everything. For starters, once you understand the claim, right? This is, if you're going to not believe something, this would be the thing not to believe, because once you make peace with the idea that God shows up on earth, then there's no problem saying, oh, I think he walked on water, or I think he turned water into wine, or I think he rose from the dead. Of course he did. Of course he healed people. Of course he had these kinds of insights. He was God. So if God is walking around on earth, of course a lot of things are going to be different. It completely shatters the sacred secular divide that we try and impose on things, saying, well, you know, the earth or my body is bad. It's not as the spirit is good, and we need to all this Plato stuff, all this, you know, the form, the ultimate archetype is great and perfect, but actual reality is somehow lesser. That's not biblical. God looks at the world that he creates, a physical world, and he says that it is good. Now, the world is not limited. Ultimate reality is not limited to the physical world, but the physical world is not bad. It's not lesser than. God takes on human flesh. And so this idea that, you know, God is ultimately concerned with your spiritual life, I say, no, God is not ultimately concerned with your spiritual life. Every aspect of who you are, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, all these things matter to God. Everything matters to God. The last thing I'll say is that the idea of the Incarnation makes it clear that we can approach God. So in the Old Testament, right, God is a fire that Abraham can't get close to, or God is holy and Moses can't look at him, or, you know, there's these different theophanies, but they were not necessarily approachable. And then to the utter amazement, God shows up as a person and as a baby. Babies are the ultimate inapproachable. Like you want to go towards them. And so this is just showing how immediately present God is. What we are celebrating at Christmas, what we are preparing for during Advent, is the Incarnation. God, from eternity past, fully God, takes on human form and will keep it forever. Jesus exists in that hypostatic union even today in heaven. But he takes on flesh, and he does it on this rescue mission for us. Have a good week.